looking at the dollar on the weekly chart right now. Actually, if we check the monthly, we'll see that we have 6 days left, and we don't have a lot of news left in the monthly candle, so we're pretty much just bearish on this monthly candle, right? Previous month worked this monthly inversion for value gap, obviously rejected really strongly. Then this candle left almost no wick to the upside, so we're looking for just continuation lower. This weekly candle did have a new week opening gap, took out previous week's high, and then yesterday just closed very strongly lower. Like what happened here is what I'm thinking. So bearish bias for the day and on the week, honestly. I'm targeting, is this previous week's low? No. Just targeting the overall swing low here on the daily. And today's daily candle closed in or opened inside of this new week opening gap on the bottom half of it. Previous day did close past this daily for value gap, disrespecting it. Did leave a 4-hour for value gap, which when this candle first opened, I did like this, and I wanted this candle and the candle that we're in right now to just make its way upwards so that we could use this as our stage, but it's looking like it's not wanting to. It's just really bearish. Since we're already lower, and I don't really expect us getting into this 4-hour for value gap, I'm probably just going to look for an Asian high sweep because we have relative equal highs. Yes, we have the ladder high taking the previous high, but it's still relatively equal highs, so there's a good amount of sell stop losses and buy stops up there. Let's check if there's any divergence made with that. No, there's not. But I'd like to see Asia highs taken, and then I'll just look for displacement lower. I don't think... Technically, we did leave this 1 hour for value gap. So I'm kind of looking at this Asian range as consolidation. Yes, we had 1 hour for value gap here. So that's kind of my signature that tells me that Asia is displacing, and then this would signal me to use an OTE entry from Asia's highs to whatever low is made, and then I would just enter off of that. But since it's not super crazy, I'm looking at it as a consolidation because of those relative equal highs, right? But looking at this lower time frame, it's really, this does have a lot of speed right here, but then I just don't like how it chops wicks. It is leaving a nice down candle here, so we do have news at 4 a.m. Eastern, so that's 2 a.m. my time, but I'm stuck on this right now. I don't know if I want to use the play of Asia consolidation, waiting for Asia high sweep, and then just looking for displacement lower, or if I want to use the play of Asia displacement range, and then just go from there. Let's see what Euro looks like. Is this actually delayed? Hold on. Might need to upgrade. Oh, it is delayed. Alright, I'm gonna have to buy this again. Luckily it's cheap, but so I don't know. At the end of the day, there is a 1 hour for value gap indicating Asia's displacing, right? It's expanding. And all these candles are down candles. It's all a straight line, right? 15-minute does look pretty strong lower. So I'll probably give it until this candle close, and then I'll watch how the next 15-minute candle plays around. And if it does strong rejection, completely retaking this entire candle and maybe more, then I'll look at this as Asia consolidation, and then I'll look for Asia high sweep. But if not, and it sits around and then starts making its way, then I'm going to be going for the play of Asia to London OT. But I gotta get my data on that. So bearish DXY, bullish Euro. If we check Euro GBP, I'd mainly just go with Euro nowadays, but Euro GBP is pretty bullish. Coming from a daily for value gap, nice rejection. Looks like this wicked into a 4 hour for value gap. Probably, yeah, wicked it. Maybe previous day low sweep here, and then higher. So it's in line with our bearish dollar, bullish Euro. Let me see what it would look like here. That's the low of Asia range, which is the start of a 4 hour for value gap. I really would prefer to just go with Asia high sweep on dollar or Asia low sweep on Euro because of this 4 hour for value gap. It looks really nice. But like I said, holy dude. I want to see how this candle closes and how the next candle bounces around. So I'll leave an update with what I'm going to decide to do before I enter. Alright, I just watched this close a little bit ago, and I went through and got my real-time market data on that, but obviously this candle didn't completely engulf this previous candle. This should be caught up now. There we go. Since it didn't completely engulf this previous candle, I'm just gonna set up a OTE entry, and we'll see how this goes. Let me double check the 1 hour on here. So there is this 1 hour for value gap as well, so this is pretty identical to DXY, which I like. That just looks weird. So let me just throw this on and then I'll be right back. Alright, the order is set. Should be simple. See how this goes. Obviously my only concern is this 4 hour for value gap, but considering the high of this for value gap and the low of this 4 hour candle is where this 1 hour candle tapped into this 1 hour for value gap, I feel like this is a pretty strong swing point, and I'm not too worried about it. At the end of the day, the higher time frame dictates the lower time frame, right? So could still completely blow through my stop loss, tap into the 4 hour for value gap, and then reverse higher. Also, another potential issue is that these relative equal, actually, are these 8.5, 8.5, wow. These equal highs just got wicked, and now, granted, we are in the first hour of the 4 hour candle, right? But they just got wicked, and that is some T divergence with everything else. So, not the best. I would have preferred those to stay intact until after we got tapped in, but whatever. So, pretty much just going to be chilling, throwing a show, and finish my food. Entry and stop loss. So dollar is still in its OTE, but honestly, since it so early in the 15-minute candle, I'm expecting dollar is going to run these Asia's highs. So I am done for the day though. I'm going to see how it reacts off of this 4 hour for value gap and if it digs into this lower one. And then just going to study it, see what it ends up doing. That trade, or that loss rather, took me to break even on my funded. So we'll see how much more room I have with the trailing drawdown. Alright, so next day, obviously we see that dollar did respect the OTE and continued in our favor. It did not take our draw on liquidity, which I like because it's given me another chance. As much as I want to just jump in tonight, which honestly, looking at news, there's no reason that I shouldn't be able to find a trade tonight. Unless price action just doesn't show me my setup. But I need to make sure that I'm still following my system and not just jumping in because I want to fix my mistake, right? So the lessons to be learned here, where's my, I thought I just had them, there they are. So the lessons to be learned here is obviously these right here, the dollar first and then should be confident in stage, which kind of ties together a little bit. So what I mean by dollar first is I've always looked at the dollar first when it comes to my entry, right? So if the dollar makes a 15-minute fair value gap, then I wait for the dollar to tap into it first, and then I would enter and time it on the euro, right? Now, if I were to do that here, right, with the OTE entry, I still would have been stopped out, right? Because, not going to lie, me seeing this would have turned me off from the trade. Would not have been as willing to enter this trade after I see this giant wick, because it just shows me that price isn't really the cleanest right now. I know that I did mention the 4 hour for value, let me go back, the 4 hour for value gap on the euro, which is what this tapped into. Let me mark this real quick. As you can see there, and then it did, like I said, end up going higher, right? So my anticipation was either it's going to wick OTE and continue higher, or it's going to just wick into the 4 hour for value gap, stop me out, and then continue higher, right? So obviously it was the latter here, but even if I were to have entered and used the idea of this is an Asia consolidation rather than an expansion, I still would have gotten stopped out, because not only did my entry form itself after my session ended, which is fine, I technically can still enter off that, but even that entry would have been stopped out, right? So it just all in all was not the best trading day, which is fine, it happens. It's just a little frustrating to me because I've been waiting for so long, and with not taking a trade and forever, it gets to you, right? So I feel like the war sentiment with Trump bombing Iran and Iran and Israel calling the ceasefire so back and forth, right? I feel like that's what's influencing the market to move how it's moving, right? Because on the dollar, it looks really good. I wish I could just trade the dollar, right? But pound, no entry here. It didn't really do anything for me. And the Asia session didn't tap into any PD arrays. London didn't tap into any PD arrays. It's just very ugly price action to me, right? So, said I'm hoping to find something tomorrow. Quick summary, I guess. Said DXY first, and then should be confident in my stage. I needed to go over that. For the second lesson, I should be confident in my stage. When I was first analyzing this, I remember looking at Asia, and I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to look at this as a Asia consolidation because of this chop at the top, or if I want to look at it as Asia expansion, right? As it's displacing, because there is the 1 hour fair value gap in Asia, which is usually what shows me that this is an expansion, right? And then I want to have an OTE entry, which is obviously what happened, but it still wasn't clear to me. And I feel like, and since it wasn't clear to me, I feel like that's what should have turned me off from the trade, right? The trading needs to be clear. This chop compared to this trend, this is what I need to be waiting for, right? And like this, it's just walking up, right? When it's up here, this is where I struggle. Obviously down here has just been really ugly. So to simplify everything with DXY first, and then should be confident in my stage. Obviously I need to be watching the dollar first instead of watching the euro. I already had my entry set up, right? So technically with the OTE, I was still following my rules. So, I need to keep that in mind too. Just because I lost the trade doesn't mean that it's bad, right? I still followed my rules. With OTEs, I don't really use DXY first actually. So I don't think that's really an issue, right, for DXY first here. I think that's just something that I saw last night when I was sitting through all this, and then I ended up getting stopped out. I saw DXY respecting it, and then Euro didn't, and that kind of triggered me to be like, I should have trusted the dollar. But no, at the end of the day, my rules say that when an OTE is what's in play, I just throw on the entry, and then I just sit and let it do its thing. There's pretty much no trade management either for the OTE entry. So I still followed my rules there, so it's a good day for sure. The main problem that I found, though, was how I wasn't super confident in my stage. The fact that I told myself that I wasn't sure whether it's an expansion or a consolidation, that should have warned me to be more cautious, maybe just step back, right? Because like I had already said before, I sound like a broken record, but with all these opening gaps and then obviously the war and everything that's going on, it's just so back and forth that it's not really the best environment. So I need to be more picky and make sure that it's really convincing to me and be like, this is Asia expanding, this is Asia consolidating, this is Asia manipulating, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, it needs to be super simple. So anyways, enough yapping. That's pretty much it.